Hey friends, welcome back. It's been a minute. We are on packet 3 and we are doing the first assignment, which is lab 3.3a, graphing the number of daylight hours. And I'm going to walk you through how to make your line graph today. All right, so we're going to go through basically the first 3 questions, and then we're going to talk about this table, and we're going to actually make it into a graph, which I will show you how to do. Okay. So the reason why we're talking about the number of daylight hours is when the Earth is revolving around the sun, because it's tilted and because it's an elliptical orbit at different times of the year, because it takes a year for it to go all the way around the sun. Different times of the year, different parts of the Earth are getting different amounts of sunlight on it, and you will see that this affects how long it's light outside as compared to dark. All right. So number 1 asks, think about your own experiences with how the number of hours of daylight changes during the year. So write a summary of what you personally experienced. So think about times of the year. So think about winter time. What's it like outside? How long is it light out? How long until it starts to get dark? And then move to spring, which is kind of where we're at now. What's it like? How do the daylight hours kind of compare to wintertime? And then go to summertime, and what's it like? How long is it light outside in the summer compared to spring, and then compared to winter, and then fall? What's it like in the fall? That's kind of like what it's asking. So that's like your own personal experience. What can you think of when you're playing outside during all those seasons? What do you think about as far as how long it stays light out? All right. Number 2, you will graph and analyze data on the hours of daylight throughout the year. What do you think the data is going to show? Okay, so this is a prediction. Okay. I think it will show whatever you think because this reason. Okay, so this is just a prediction. Okay, what do you think when we crunch all this data and we put it into a graph, what do you think it's going to reveal? All right, because that's why we graph things. This is a table, and basically, these are just numbers. So we did graph other types of data, and it allowed us to kind of see things. This is going to be very similar to that. All right, so number 3, graph the table of data on daylight hours collected. Put each month of the year on the x-axis and the hours of daylight on the y-axis. Be sure to label each axis and give your graph a title. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through that right now. So in this table, you have, in this column, you have all the months of the year, right? January, February, March, blah, 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 all the way to December, right? And then over here, total hours of daylight on the 15th day of each month. So what these occur or show are, on the 15th day of January, there was 9.25 hours of light before it started to get dark outside. In February, there were 10.36 hours before it started to get dark outside. Okay? So what we're going to do is put all of this data into a graph. So a line graph, the first thing you're going to need to do is draw a big old L. Okay? I didn't even use a ruler for this. Not yet. You will need a ruler. Well, it'll be really helpful, but I did use a ruler for this bottom part. So I used the red line, the margin line on my notebook paper, drew it straight down, and then I literally just drew along the blue line here. So you may be wondering, well, Mr. Annan, how big do I need to make this graph? Well, let's look at the numbers. So the first thing it says is you need to put your months on the x-axis. So how long? This is your x-axis. X goes from left to right. Y goes from up to down. You guys may have seen that in your math. So this one needs to be because it's going to be the months, you need 12 of these marks because there's 12 months in the year. Now, this is what I use my ruler for. Let me grab it. So I use my ruler and I use centimeters, and you can see that I just measured this line to make sure that I had enough little tick marks for 12. Right? And it goes all the way to 12. Ta-da! I went all the way across the page with extra, but I made sure I had enough room, and then I just measured the 12 centimeters. Right? And then I labeled this months, and then I just January, February, March, April, May, blah, blah, all the way to December. Just like this column here. Okay? Now, the y-axis is a little more complicated. So we kind of have to think about that. We can't just know, oh, it's this amount, because we know there's 12 months, so we know that the x-axis is going to be 12, but how do we need to make sure that our y-axis is going to cover all of these numbers. We got to make sure that we have enough range for the data to be recorded. So the y-axis is for daylight hours. So how high does this need to be? I drew mine all the way up to 16. No, I didn't just guess. By looking at the data, we need to look at the highest number this gets to and make sure we have enough room in the range for recording it. So let's look for the biggest number. Where do we see? We got 9 going up. Okay, 12, 13. Sorry, I'm getting out of focus here. 15, 15.18. So it looks like 15 hours and 18 minutes is the biggest number. So that means that no number in this group of numbers will be bigger than 15 hours and 18 minutes. So to give me a nice whole number, I drew it all the way up to 16 hours. All right. So, and I labeled the y-axis. This is time in hours. Okay, so now we got to start graphing this thing. So I'm going to walk you through how to graph most of this, and then you should be able to get the hang of it. Okay. So January, we will do first. Okay. So January, 9 hours and 25 minutes. So we go here on the January axis, and then we got to go all the way up to 9 hours. Okay. And then we kind of just have to eyeball it here. We know that 25 minutes is about halfway between 9 and 10 o'clock. So I will draw my first point right here. Okay, a nice, good point. I'm doing this with one hand, so mine won't be perfect like yours will be. You can use a straight edge and line up your points really nice. I did all right. Look at that. Oh, kind of. So now I need to draw my next point. So February was at 10 hours and 36 minutes. That's how long the daylight was on that day. So we're going to go over to February, which is right here. We're going to go all the way up to 10 hours. And then 36 minutes is about just a little bit past halfway, right? Because 10:30 would be the halfway mark. So we will draw our point right there. Okay. Next, we have March, which is when Mr. Annan's birthday was. 11 hours and 55 minutes of daylight. So we'll go over to March here, right there. We'll go all the way up to 11 hours and 55 minutes. We know that that's like almost 12 o'clock. So I'll go right underneath the 12, draw my circle, my little dot, boom. Okay. You guys starting to get the gist of this? April, 13 hours, 24 minutes. So we'll go over to April. We're going to go all the way up to 13 hours. And then 24 minutes is right below halfway. We'll draw our dot right there. For May, we have 14 hours and 38 minutes. I'm going to be going to June, guys. So May, go all the way up. What was it again? It was 14 hours and 38 minutes. So we're going to go all the way up to 14. We're going to go to halfway. And then 38 is just a little bit past halfway. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. We are doing this to give us a visual representation of the numbers so that we can actually see a pattern. All right, and then finally, June, 15 hours and 18 minutes, which was the number we talked about earlier. So June, we almost are. Boop. So 15 hours and 18 minutes. So just a little bit, I'd say about a quarter of the way there almost. Just a little bit past a quarter of the way. Okay. All right, so you're going to do this for all 12 months for today. And after you get all of your points plotted, boop, 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 you need to connect these. Okay, use a straight edge, or you can just color it in. Okay, I'm not doing the best job because I'm freehanding it. Okay, so you'll connect all of these points. Okay, and you'll start to see a pattern. Tomorrow we will answer the rest of these questions together, okay? All right, I will be in the Google Meets today from 1 to 2 o'clock. If you guys have any questions about the graphing in general, daylight hours during the year, come and see me. I'd love to answer your questions. And so would Nunu. Hope there is. All right, have a good day, guys.